This is a lightning session about Bits of Proof Bitcoin Enterprise Server. Bits of Proof is my company, and I'm proudly present you this product. I would like to start with, sorry, this is the one I have to use. I'd like to start with a few words about me. So I'm the CEO of this new company. I was a hacker since 1984. I was the author of the PMPGP in 95, which was the most popular OS2 PGP frontend at that time. I was active in the Bitcoin community since 2011, and I was at a professional career where I was working for big investment banks for quite a long time and developing trading strategies and IT systems for Wall Street. I'd like to talk about what Bitcoin really is in introduction. It is actually a work of a genius who, instead of arguing a theory, he wrote a program and proved the concept with this program. And Bitcoin is a complex algorithm that converges to a consensus of balances of a ledger. And we actually just experience that Satoshi was right. He still did not, or nobody still did deliver the actual proof that the system theoretically works. So what he did is a proof of concept code. And the code he wrote is, I would say, it makes a good spaghetti. It is concise and precise, but it's tightly coupling all aspects that were needed to prove the concept. I just printed some lines of this code from the very beginning of the Satoshi main.cpp to illustrate this point, where he stores the global state for lots of different things. Certainly the question is, could he wrote a better code? Probably he could, because he was a genius, so let's assume he could have been written a better code, but he didn't need it to, because he just was to prove the concept, and he did not have to solve all the problems that we will have as we use this. And it is our task to do that. It is a long perception in this community that the Satoshi code is Bitcoin. Well, at least since 12th March this year, we know that this is not necessarily a guarantee for avoiding a fork, because a fork could happen even between two versions of Satoshi. The actual tool that we can deploy to ensure quality of an implementation is just using tests. And this is exactly the path I went with Bits of Proof. Now I would like to start talking about the software I'm actually representing. The history of Bits of Proof started in June 2012, where I started with basically underestimating the problem massively. Otherwise, I would not never have ever started with it. In November 2012, I got to a stage where it could be shown to the community, so I posted it in bitcointalk.org and asked for review, and received lots of headwind and lots of critics and also lots of help. People were a bit shocked by the perception that it could be redone and it could just be dangerous and so on, but with some time and some work, people, I think, at least learned to accept it or to take it seriously. And in January the 1st, it was a very important milestone where a very respected member of the core community recognized that at least the scripting engine is okay, the script validation, which is one of the core parts. On the 13th of January, it passed the Bitcoin J and Satoshi common tests, which is a blockchain reorganization test and block format test. Actually, these are the two tests that are already running, that are also running in every pool test of the original Satoshi implementation. So Bits of Proof passed all these unit tests and the script test, and it got a review. And at this point, it began to run in parallel with the main network. It is running without issues since about January. It even sailed through the March 12 fork, and it was on the side of the new version of the Satoshi client. And it did the reorg as it was catching up with the old version. And as I saw that, I recognized that this is a software that really worth of creating a company around it. So I incorporated Bits of Proof the 19th of March. And it is today that I announce you the Bits of Proof Enterprise Server. And I would like to thank for that I come to this point. I would like to thank to those in the core community who helped me to review and critique in this, during this path. So what is in Bits of Proof? In the core, it is a modular system. In the core, we have 4 components. We have a configurable message listener. So you can add and remove elements of the protocol if you don't need all for a certain setup that you use. All this configuration is, by the way, done by Spring, so it's a runtime configuration. There is an abstract and NoSQL or SQL layer that isolates the data storage of the blockchain. I currently use either Progress or LevelDB, whereby LevelDB provides about the magnitude higher performance, but Progress is also working. It's perhaps interesting if somebody is doing data mining. Then it has a generic high-performance NIO peer-to-peer engine, and it is using a third-party crypto library, which is at this moment Bouncy Castle, but since it is the actual Java security framework, it could be also changed to something else. Then these core components are isolated with a message bus. And this is, I think, the most important point with the Bits of Proof implementation. The message bus is an industry standard technology to isolate pieces of software which should not work with each other directly. And it's also a pattern to not only protect a piece of code, but also do a load balancing. So the API is actually on the lowest level, the bus, and this bus offers the authentication to access the service. It offers the load balancing, and it's language agnostic. It's a cross-platform thing, and it runs in a separate process. That also means that you could run the bus serving process in another machine than you run the kernel instances. The bus itself speaks the STORM protocol, which is a very simple message distribution mechanism, and the messages themselves are in protobuf format, so you can use other languages that support protobuf, and I think there is a huge choice in the meanwhile. Around this bus, which is the lowest level API that you would perhaps use if you directly want to access the kernel functionality, there is a convenience API. This convenience API I call the BCS API. This is, again, a piece of Java that connects to the bus and implements a client-side wallet, which is very important because that is what allows us to run multiple instances of the server or shared servers because the actual keys are not on the server side. So you can implement client-side wallets on the API side, I mean with that. And these wallets already implement the BIP32. At least I hope that it will not be changed again until I speak. And it implements the latest version of it. Therefore, it can provide you deterministic key generation, read-only accounts, and hierarchical accounts. It also supports the individually encrypted private keys standard or improvement proposal 38. In addition to these convenience functionalities, we have an entire protocol stack, actually. At the very bottom, we have the peer-to-peer network of Bitcoin. Over that, you could run several instances of a Bits of Proof server. And they would be connected with a load balancing message bus that distributes the in and outgoing requests from the APIs. You could use languages like Python or PHP to connect directly to this bus. You can instead also use the BCS API, which is a Java layer. This allows you to add custom extensions to the server. And above that, I already also added the BCC API, which is an API created by Jan Miller and is known as basically the thing driving the Bitcoin Spinner Android application, which is quite a popular Android application to use, or wallet to use. I also have a small example of a REST API, so you can build a browser very quickly on top of that. This is not just talk. I have sample applications. I can show you a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin spinner, which is in my pocket, running against a bits of proof machine, an instance of it. And in GitHub repository, you find the source codes for the Explorer example and the small API example. I claim that the bits of proof implementation of Bitcoin gives you the fastest track to implement your application if you want to create one and you want to embed into something. I hope you can read this. In the very first lines, you see that it's a simple connection using a protocol of your choice. In this case, it's TCP, but you can also use TLS for encryption, certainly. So you just identify the server you talk to. There is an authentication step. After the authentication, you could use the ping API to check whether this server is available and what the round trip is to the server. And then you see a creation of a client-side wallet, which is a wallet that could have several accounts. A single account is represented by a master key in the BIP32 standard. So a single account can have unlimited number of keys and unlimited number of addresses, but they are all kept together. So Bits of Proof gives you out of the box something that is a problem on the Satoshi side, which is a multi-wallet setup. Then the next thing you see is a registration of an account listener. This is something that gives you all the transactions that affect the addresses in your wallet. So you can subscribe to basically the changes, the payments that are coming into your wallet, for example. This subscription is the simplest subscription that Bits of Proof also supports subscription on a filter basis. This would, by default, filter by addresses of the wallet. And then the last lines show you how easy it is to create a simple payment transaction and just use the API to send it to the server so it will be executed. But the Bits of Proof company itself is not just a software. I'm not just presenting you the software as it is on GitHub, but I do have a commercial offer to you. Bits of Proof is offered as an enterprise server in an open source manner. You have it with the Apache 2.0 license on the GitHub. And I have support level offers. There is an entry level offer, which means email support and just a few issues per month in a 24 hours turnaround. There's a professional support, which means unlimited issues and 12 hours turnaround. And there is a premium offer, which means we also provide you real-time support in the European business zones because my company is actually located in Budapest, in Central Europe. All the service levels include, and that's very important, all the service levels already include hosting. Because I do think that one of the biggest obstacles of setting up a new software using Bitcoin is to set up basically the server and dealing with all this. So what I offer to you with the service level, you already get a hosted Bitcoin server. So you really need just these few lines of code and a Maven deployed small jar file to link to your application, and you are ready to go and ready to write a Bitcoin application or embed it into your mobile application. The hosted Bitcoin servers, therefore, offer you zero-time setup for development. It's definitely a very interesting choice for development. And it might be also a good choice for you for production. I'm not insisting in it. It's open source. You can run it yourself. But I think there is a value in us providing the upgrades and the monitoring and the automated maintenance of the Bitcoin servers. And I also have a complimentary offer just for this conference, which is everyone who is coming to me and to my colleague Chris, who I would like to just introduce you. Chris Farkas, please stand up. Chris Farkas is representing the company from the sales and investor relationship. And me and himself will be at booth 28, and we will be accepting inquiries for a complimentary offer, which means 3 months of access to a development setup. And we will have future events in Budapest, what's the plan. It's probably a far reach from here, but we want to perhaps have the next one later here. So I'd like to have questions now. Thank you very much. Yes?
Are you using a distributed cloud hosting service, or are you centrally hosting those servers today?
No, I'm using a professional hosting service.
Is it all in one location?
At this moment, they are all in Germany. I'm using one location because I have just a few servers at the moment. It will depend now on customer requests, and I'd like to use the hosting which is suitable for my customers. So if you want, you can even tell me where you want them. Yes?
How far are you, I mean, what are the next steps in your development? What do you see things that should be done in order to try to be technology?
Thank you for asking that, because I would like to add that Bitcoin is, the bits of proof implementation is the first Bitcoin implementation with lots of added features also, which go beyond the Satoshi client. I'm not actively advertising them now for a commercial offer because they are new, but it supports, for example, colored coins. So it has in its kernel the capability of tracking the color of an output and tracking it through the chain. So this will later on enable applications that use Bitcoin not as a payment system, but as a system to reallocate rights or property rights of anything. This is an example of further applications I see. But at this moment, I see bits of proof as an enabler for your ideas. Yes?
This sounds great. This sounds exactly what you want to see enterprise to
Excuse me.
This sounds great. I can see exactly uses for this. Technology organizations who need like access. To what extent can it be pulled apart? So we have an enterprise that uses different messaging systems, different message brokers, different database. How tech boundaries
Well, it is a Spring configured standard G2EE program package. So you can, with a very few lines of configuration changes, you can adapt it to another database. That's very easy. The bus is also a very industry standard bus. Actually, I think nearly all pieces of this system you can pull apart and change. That's the biggest difference to Satoshi. Yeah. Okay, performance. I claim that it's at least as fast as the original Satoshi. It's probably even faster. It takes about 4 to 6 hours to download the full blockchain, because it's doing a parallel download instead of using just one master peer that the Satoshi does. And where the only piece where the performance is lower is the verification of the signatures, because the signature verification is done in a Java library, which is not fast. But I consider currently this is not worth of changing, because it is not a bottleneck. The real bottleneck is on the I/O on the desk, and the signature validation at the moment is not. Yes?
So how many implementations are live on this at production capacity?
I'm not aware of production use yet. This product is now launched today. I have a production use in my pocket. I pay with it. Yes?
How many concurrent connections does that server have to the network?
Well, that's configurable. I usually run between 20 to 50. Okay. That's what I use. And the bus, if you mean that, the bus can take thousands of it.
I meant like Bitcoin peer-to-peer connection. I like the Satoshi client between 8 and the firewall and like 100 or so I've seen. But some of the other clients I've seen, they're a little bit limited as far as how many they can connect to their processes.
Well, the limitation is, I don't see the limitation from a technical point. It's just it gets waste of effort, because they all say the same normally. It depends on your security perception. If you would like to have a wide connection to avoid that somebody is fooling you by, but that's something that you can, in this implementation, you can separately configure the number of incoming connections and outgoing connections. So if you are really afraid of somebody connecting you and fooling you, then you just limit the incoming connections. You're welcome. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm interested in altcoins
I believe the bits of proof is best suited for an alternate implementation because of its modularity.
I was just going to ask about the wallet. The last time I saw you post some forums, I think the wallet wasn't quite done yet, but is that you have a wallet implementation now?
A wallet?
Yeah.
Yes, on the client side, there is in the client library there's a wallet implementation, which is basically a BIP32 key generation, a persistence of the UTXO, so the outstanding transactions, and this is stored in a file which is encrypted using a script key generation and stored in a single file. So it's a turnkey solution for a simple wallet, and it offers several accounts. Yes?
What do you think about the security implications of using Java for a full node?
Well, I was working in the biggest investment banks, and we were using Java. And all the trading system I saw were running Java. So where Java security issues are where Java applets are downloaded in a web browser, and you basically have the permission to execute some foreign code. But I'm not aware of direct security issues just because it is written in Java. Thank you very much.